I had to take a bit of a break. That digital ID report really took a lot out of me. But I'm back with TBOT episode 17, starting with solutions. More solutions, because that's what we need as we're in the face of a government shutdown, at least here in the U.S. Starting next week, it will be the longest on-record government shutdown in U.S. history. And so some people are scared. I am not scared. I think there's a huge bright side to this. So that'll be our first story for today. We're also going to look at the new entry-exit requirements that the U.S. just passed and how exactly these systems work. So if you're a non-citizen, you're going to have to scan your face in order to get into the U.S., at least by air. And so we'll look at the details there. Also, Windows 11 woes. Windows 11 is now in full swing with more AI and less user control than ever. We'll look at why this is a pretty scary version of Windows and how, well, or what you might want to switch to instead. And lastly, GrapheneOS is adding new options. They're working with new manufacturers to add an option to the normal Pixel phone that you would normally get with GrapheneOS. So you're going to find out the latest details for that. And we're going to look at digital ID in the EU and the UK. We're also going to have some very exciting announcements for those who want to contribute to share their voice, because they know they can do better. They know they can spread solutions. So we are going to open the doors to having people contribute to TBOT. All of this in today's show. Let's get into it. Starting with the U.S. government shutdown, Senate Leader Mike Thune says there are no winners in a government shutdown. There are only losers. But are there really? I do think there are some winners. The supposed losers, which everyone is up in arms about, are the 40 million Americans that are dependent on SNAP benefits, SNAP food benefits. These are the credits they can get to in exchange for food. And because this support is ending, many people have made the assumption that these people who are now not getting food are just days away from rioting and looting. And I have to ask, when did we start thinking so little of each other to just jump to accusing others of rioting and looting? What does that really say about us? I think we need to have more faith in each other and look at the massive potential of 40 million Americans who are now not subscribed to this subsidized food system and could start gardening over the next few months if people are willing and supportive and not assuming that they're just going to jump to stealing. This could be completely transformative to local and organic agriculture. It could revive the concept of the community garden, which are prevalent all over the United States. It could reduce food deserts. We could start to empower each other instead of be skeptical of each other. Now, I'm not much of a gardener yet, but I wanted to connect people with resources. So here are some sites where you can find local community gardens. The first, we're looking at communitygarden.org/garden. So communitygarden.org does a really great job of having a map, and it actually will give you a list of community gardens all over the world, and you can click to dial in here. So let's go into this area. Where did I go last time? So we're going into the Durango area here, and we actually can see, even in a small, well, I don't know Durango, but I imagine it's a pretty medium-sized town. There are a lot of community gardens. There's at least 4 that you can get involved in. There's one at this elementary school, and there is this outdoor learning lab. 50 garden beds are open to the community and can be rented. There's one over here. Now, what I really liked about it, I can't get to that same location that I did earlier, but there's even people just offering free seeds that you can look into and connect with, and you can see the contact info is here. In some cases, I thought I saw a phone number, but they've got the email, they've got the website. So imagine if instead of saying, oh no, mass riots and looting, we could just point our friends and neighbors to the nearest community gardens. We could start getting involved that way. So this is, again, communitygarden.org. communitygarden.org/garden is where you can see this map, and they have many community gardens. You can also put your garden on the map, which I definitely recommend. Now, this is another article which I'll post in the show notes here from millennialcities.com, which has a list of many different maps more specific to a particular state or a city. So there's maps for Seattle itself, there's a map for Denver, there is a map of Vermont. Look at all these gardens, and you're telling me that we're gonna have rioting? Not if we educate people. Washington, North Carolina, Houston, New York City, Austin, all of these places, there are community gardens. So again, that's millennialcities.com, where you can get involved with a local community garden. And I hope you engage with your neighbors, especially those that you might think are at risk of losing their SNAP benefits, or actually see where they're at. Now, the Trump administration did say they were going to provide a baseline of these SNAP benefits, so it's not like these people are going to starve, which is better than nothing. And also, we need to work towards helping each other be more self-sustainable. This just isn't for, it's not like we can sit on a high horse and say, hey, at least we have money for food, we're not relying on welfare. No, this is going to affect everyone, because without hungry neighbors, with hungry neighbors, things could get worse, or they can get better, or we could put our energy to good use. This is another website that I'm really excited about to find free seeds. So this website is called freeheirloomseeds.org, and I really like it because there's ways to receive free seeds, and they'll send it by U.S. mail. I think at the very least case, you have to pay for postage, right? Keep in mind we have provide. Yes, so they have very little resources to provide postage for these seeds, and donate if you can. I'm thinking I'm going to reach out to them and send them a donation so that they can pay to send seeds out for people who actually need them and can't pay for postage. I think that would be a nice gesture. But you can receive seeds with a donation or without a donation. And also, here's a free seed list. Like, guys, check it out. It goes from A to Z, starting from Asian greens to amaranth, to anise, to basil. A lot of these are really rare, so it's really impressive what they have managed to pick, and all the information they have. Like, look, it just goes. What is there a seed that even starts with Z? There's zinnias, I know. Well, sunflower, squash, wheat. Look, they even have wheat. They give you a teaspoon or 100 seeds per request. They tell you how many seeds you'll get per request. Look at this. This is amazing. This is a free resource with a minimal donation or paying for postage, which is like $4. So why are we sitting around and saying that we're going to go riot? Like, that's ridiculous. I think we can do better. So you can choose the way this government shutdown affects you. You have the power. You are the seed of potential to be positive for those around you. You can either suspect that they're going to start rioting, looting, and think lesser of your fellow human being, or you can engage with them who don't necessarily have the same blessings as you, but we can make it happen, right? We have just as much of a say at what happens in this world as the next person. So you get to choose. And if you do ignore the situation, which is fine, you can do that. You can sit on your high horse and say, oh no, the breakdown in society. Well, you can bet that there are groups that are trying to sow discord, conflict, and general unrest. And hey, maybe we'll want people to riot and cause these situations which can lead to martial law or police on the streets. These are things we're seeing already. So you get to decide, my friends. This is our time to shine. So the homework for today, yes, that's right, TBOT homework. You thought you could escape school? Hell nah, life is school. So the homework is to get connected to your local community garden and resources, and to let us know about it on our Telegram channel. Yes, if you haven't already started following our Telegram channel, here it is. It's Take Back Our Tech, all one word, on Telegram, or you could search, will show up. We have 7,000 subscribers, and there is actually a discussion channel too. This is our chat, the TBOT chat. It's a Take Back Our Tech _chat. I should probably get a better name for it. But this is where you can share your homework, which is to get connected with your local community garden and give a status update of your local community garden, people you met, if you're able to score some free seeds, and if you talk to anyone in your community about this very important issue. I want to shout out the Take Back Our Tech community for providing another little bright side to this government shutdown. Yes, there's bright sides. So we performed our first decentralized analysis recently when I noticed a few weeks ago that my skies were clear. For the first time ever, they weren't hazy. There weren't these weird trails that spread out all over the sky and block out the sun. And so I decided to get curious and ask people in our group to send pictures of their skies wherever they were at. And so here are some pictures of skies across America during a government shutdown. This one, I don't know where it is. I do think you can see one chemtrail in there, but generally all pretty clear. But in most places, here is Ashland, Oregon. This is actually a friend of the channel's, Dr. Nick from Essential Oil Wizardry. If you want awesome essential oil products, go and check him out, essentialoilwizardry.com, or just search him up. But look at this. This is his beautiful farm in Oregon. Look how clear that sky is. It really couldn't be clearer. And this is where he grows some of his herbs there. This is in western Wisconsin. It's still cloudy, but these are not chemtrail clouds. This is natural skies. So that's in western Wisconsin. And then here is the beach in Stuart, Florida, which with a friend of ours as well, who we're going to be playing some music from later on. So it's clear skies everywhere, mostly everywhere. And I've also heard no chemtrails over eastern Pennsylvania, in southwestern Tennessee, New Jersey. It seems like it's everywhere. However, it is not completely free of chemtrails. It seems like the chemtrail program is on a bare budget, and I even saw chemtrails one week in my town, followed by heavy rain on the weekends. So it seems like they're on a bare budget, and there are little programs here and there, but generally the whole thing has been diminished. There's clear skies, and that's really crazy to think about, that in the government's budget, somewhere in there, there's a line item where they spend, I mean, guys, there's you know, you see these things like 9 hours a day flying around. Imagine the jet fuel, and imagine all the resources that our tax dollars go towards. It's crazy that there's some amount in there, probably tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of dollars, going towards this stuff, and it takes a government shutdown for it to stop, where we get natural weather back, where we get beautiful weather. And so I have to thank the TBOT crew again. Join this community, go to Telegram and search for Take Back Our Tech, join our discussion group, and we'll put our link in the description. And thank you to everyone in there who provided these pictures. I would like to do more decentralized investigations, and I think this is the way, crowdsourcing this information to really know what things are like, to get true information about the world. While we are on this note and looking at these blue skies, I've been traveling over the past few weeks, and many of you know that TSA in the U.S., which is the Transportation Security Administration, you know, they're the guys who fondle you as you go through the airports to check you for knives and stuff. They are unhappy. You know, I could really feel their grumbling, and I feel sorry for them in some ways, but also knowing and talking to them, they're not getting paid. They're getting deferred payments because of the government shutdown, and many of them are calling in sick, which is causing extreme delays of flights throughout the country. Like, many of them are just not showing up. So I just wanted to use this as an example of how fragile these systems are. It's just a paycheck or two away from falling apart, these surveillance and digital ID systems. So this is why it's so important to build these in-person community networks and to withhold your support from these tyrannical, oppressive systems, and put your effort and attention and energy into building new, better systems, my friends. And it's very hopeful. We don't have all the answers yet, but don't worry, we don't need to. You know, the average age is 80 years old, so I would say until you're about 40 or 50, you really don't have any idea of what you're doing. But the good news is the authority is inside you. You can make an impact. It's however you want to interact and engage, what feels right to you. So be selfish and figure things out for yourself. You'll be helping everyone else too, my friends. And later on, we're going to be hearing some music from Casey Turner called Fine Hawaiian Day. But for now, let's get into the next segment. U.S. biometric scanning is now in effect. In early October, you probably saw the EU had their own entry-exit biometric requirements. Well, now the U.S. kind of already had its own. Now it has the exit requirements that you have to undergo biometric scans when you leave too. Let's check out this post from Biometric Update. So this is coming from the Customs and Border Patrol. They have a new rule, and they're putting their final touches on this entry-exit program. So foreigners to the U.S. have have experienced this where they have to take a picture when entering the country. Now it's when they exit the country. And this program was also already existing. It was on 15 airports in the country. Now it's going to expand to every airport on air border checkpoints. So this involves several pieces of infrastructure that we can look at. Here, let's look at the Federal Register, which is part of this rule that was released and is now going into effect, which it's the Custom and Border Patrol is using at these airports now, this traveler verification service, which is a cloud-based biometric matching system, which will capture the images coming in from the passport, or I'm sorry, capture the real-time images of passenger and comparing them to passport, visa, and flight data to make sure things check out. So these new filings show that it's expanding to the entire country, and a new facial comparison service is being offered to all air and sea carriers, right? So this system will do kind of the same thing, where it'll send photographs and it'll compare it to these pre-existing photographs of the travelers, which is referred to as a gallery. And this test program, it's everywhere, but it's supposedly a test, has been renewed for the next 2 years until February 2027. And so the equipment cost for a program like this cost about $5,000 to $20,000 per departure gate. Now, I used a local AI to give me a quick estimate of how many departure gates there are in the country, with larger airports having anywhere from 150 to 200 gates, and with about 750 airports in the United States, you can estimate there's about a total 9,000 to 15,000 gates in the United States, not including sea travel. So these passenger terminals, right? It's like the jet bridge. Is it the jet bridge? I don't know. It's whatever you use to walk onto the plane. So multiply this at the lowest level, 5,000 per departure gate, and you're looking at 50 million at least. And that's a very conservative estimate. That's doing it, at cost, which this Federal Register it does recommend to do it at a minimal cost so they can implement it. But this isn't counting 10% for the big guy. This isn't counting for any other additional costs that might be factored in. So the final number could be much, much higher. And it's all done to track people who are foreign to the U.S. So first we saw it in the EU. Now it's completed, more or less completed in the U.S. What can you do? Well, I do think land borders will become more popular. And if you haven't already, check out my report on digital ID, where I talk about some of these travel requirements and the guidelines you can use to minimize their impact on you. You can go to abovephone.com/digital ID to download this report. Guys, it was such a huge report that I stopped doing the TBOT show for 10 days. I'm sorry about that, but I got burnt out about learning about digital ID. That is it for this new biometric entry exit requirements. Let's go into our next story. So this one comes from the rumors on different social media platforms like Mastodon, where the founder of GrapheneOS, we must assume Daniel McKay, is talking about their new collaboration with an OEM partner, a major manufacturer of phones that are licensed to Android, that could potentially create a device that adheres to GrapheneOS's very extreme security standards that other phones haven't been able to meet. So this article from Pionka Web does a good job summing up kind of the updates that have leaked. And so they are working with this partner to produce a next-gen device that meets GrapheneOS's security requirements. These devices will be featuring Snapdragon processors, which will perform faster than the Pixel chips that we're kind of used to, while maintaining all the features that you might expect. These Snapdragon chips also support the ARM memory tagging extension, which is a very important security feature of phones that every phone should have, yet is not implemented on most Android phones like Samsung and Google. And was finally updated by Apple, so their Apples are supporting this now. But they're bragging about it like GrapheneOS didn't do it literally 4 years earlier. They're pretending no one else did it, which is kind of silly. And so these new phones should be available internationally and will be available as a normal phone that you can pick up, which is good news because you'll still be able to install it yourself, and we'll still be able to do our thing to help provide this to people who aren't able to do it on their own. And don't worry, existing Pixel users will be fine. Security updates will continue to be released until the last end of life date, October 2032. I do want to turn your attention to our Black Friday sale, which is at abovephone.com/Black Friday. So this is our biggest sale for this year. We're discounting devices anywhere up to $300 off, and we're giving extra discounts if you buy more than one. You're also getting a free month of our privacy services as part of the suite. I'm going to talk about this a little bit more in the announcement section of today's video. Let's go back to the story. Because there are devices like Linux phones, there's also devices like Fairphones that claim to source all of their own components for the phone. Unfortunately, they don't really meet the security requirements. In some cases, they're not even receiving security updates. This is why I do recommend GrapheneOS. I think they make a really strong case for being security focused, and this is something I wasn't even aware of until I started reading the security bulletins and seeing how many security updates are actually rolled out per month. So there are a lot. So how can you have privacy really if you have a big gap in your security? So anyways, long story short, new phones are coming, which is exciting. I think more choice for people. I think the existing phones will continue to be supported, which is great. We'll have more than one choice, and more choice is better for everyone. Windows 11, the October 14th deadline to switch to Windows 11 passed. So now users that are still using Windows 10 are out of date. And we saw that 50% of users switched last minute. 200 million people have still not upgraded, showing how unpopular this update is, or that people are just using computers that are ineligible because they can't use the handy dandy AI features. Also, Microsoft botched the migration. Look, we're on the official Windows blog to get kind of their take on what they've done. But one update disabled the mouse and keyboard and required a manual emergency update. So that just, that happens when you upgrade millions of computers. It also happens when you're Microsoft. And users are being forced to update to Windows 11 and its AI first ecosystem. Let's look at some of the features here. Look, you will have, you can interact more deeply with your files. You can interact more deeply with your files by taking an action on them, like summarizing the document, right? Like you don't know what's going on in your computer, you download it and you can summarize the file. So it looks like AI is embedded in every aspect that can have access to your file system. It's it's unclear what this actually means in terms of a privacy setting, but it looks like AI is integrated into pretty much everything, and you can use AI tools to edit your photos. We also have forced app updates through the Microsoft Store. So this is one way you can install apps on the Microsoft Store. You used to be able to just not update them at all if you liked a particular version. Now you have the whole delay thing. It's like, would you like to update this now or 5 weeks from now? I will ask you every week. And so you don't have a choice when you're installing Microsoft Store software from the Microsoft Store. I think eventually, give it 3 years, that this will be the only way to install software. Potentially, I think that they will make it harder and harder to install software on your own. Thanks to things like these, they just want more and more control. I'm not even sure how many people use the Microsoft Store, but again, it's not your computer, you're just along for the ride of whatever Microsoft thinks up next, and that's why these updates are really gross and your computer can get worse and worse. Similarly, here are some other features. Now you can have personalized stories and advertisements in your start menu. Oh my god, it's the perfect Christmas present. Oh, perfect. More personalized ads for you in your widgets board, so that'll follow you around. So that's great, I guess. There's also, will be on the lock screen. If you thought you could lock your computer, nope, sorry, it's now a permanent advertising terminal for Microsoft and their content partners. Oh, there's some good things in there, I guess, for the Braille viewer. I'm really not sure. Use a Braille display with narrator. Okay, I guess that's for people who are blind and need the screen to read. PC gaming is now integrated with AI as well. And it'll help you with the games that you have if you get stuck, which is kind of silly. And just a visual refresh, password managers, many other features here.
But the most important thing is that this is an AI first type of operating system. There's also a interesting aspect here of you being able to use your voice access natural commanding, and this is something that the CEOs have spoken. They think this is the new paradigm in personal computing, where you're just going to talk to your computer and tell you what you wanted to do. And look at the amazing thing that they've done. They released it saying, can you open the Edge application instead of Open Edge, which is the actual command. They weren't able to translate that before. It wasn't able to work. Now you have more flexibility. You can say, can I please browse the web? And it should open up the right program. So, wow, amazing progress from this multi-billion-dollar company. And it's interesting too, because now this will open people up to letting them share their voice print with Microsoft, which is a form of biometric that is collected in some places, as I've discovered in the digital ID report. So it's now collecting voice prints from your user, and of course there's ways to sign in with your face and stuff, and very insidious stuff, and it's not really needed. None of this stuff is needed. No one wants this stuff, Microsoft. Why are you doing this? And it's just the perfect opportunity to switch to Linux, as many people have. I cover this here in my article, Why You Should Make the Leap to Linux, which was all the way back in 2021. So I've been talking about this for years and years, and now there are many reasons to do it. So check out this article. Go to takebackourtech.org. Find this article, Why You Should Make the Leap to Linux. There's also Installing Linux from Scratch. Both of those articles will show you how to install Linux on your computer. And yes, I think these are overall good things, and I think that's the bright side in all of these issues which seem to lock us in. Now, we do need to talk about the digital ID report, but before we do, I have some announcements for today. Very exciting announcements. The first thing is that we are looking for contributors for Take Back Our Tech. So I know that there are a lot of talented people in the community. They always have things to share. We want our friends to write and help educate the world. It's not just about pure digital technology. We could talk about energy, food, or water systems. And I want to feature your content on our channel. So that'll be the official takebackourtech.org website. It'll be our Substack. I can even talk about it on the show. And we're just looking for optimistic technologists. I don't just want the doom and gloom. I want a little bit of doom and gloom, but I want solutions, right? That's the thing. And I would like for the content to be as accurate as possible, to cite it with primary sources, which is really, really important, just to not spread out disinformation or badly researched stuff. I think the bar is way too low on content these days. It's more entertaining and viral than it is actually helpful. So we can change that. We can make a measurable difference for humanity. So what I'm looking for is one article a month, which will be exclusive to TBOT channels, and it could be any length from 3 to 1,200 words. So if you're interested, go to takebackourtech.org. You can look in the navigation bar. You can see there's a place to contribute, and I would love to work with you. I would love to give some feedback on your writing, and I would love to feature it on our channels, which can direct people to your work. So it's a very important part of building communities. We'd like to share it with others. So please apply. I'm hoping to have the first people selected and publishing stuff by December, so we have an entire month to go over things. So check it out. That's takebackourtech.org/contribute. Again, I would like to mention our Black Friday sale, which is also going on for the entire month of November. Oh my God, look at this. Angel numbers. 11 days, 11 hours, soon to be 11 minutes. Time is running out for our Black Friday sale. And we're doing our biggest sale for the year, where phones are discounted up to $300 off, and you get savings if you buy more than one device. So of course, we've got our 9 Pro XL, our 9A, which are great phones, and we've got budget phones available as well. Then we've got 2 packs of these phones that you can get for you and a friend. So if you or a family member want private communications, this is the perfect way to start. We also have our awesome laptops, like I'm using the above book right now. So if you want an incredible Linux-based private and secure operating system that is easy to use, check this out. I use this thing every day. I demo it all the time, and people like it. And we have around, a few thousand customers using this stuff. So it works from all different ages and backgrounds. Lastly, you can get a combo of a phone and laptop that all work together with our suite of privacy services, which if you buy any device during the sale, you'll get a free month free of our suite. A free month free. You'll get your first month free of our suite. That's the 9 different services that we run for people on our professional data center. We have VPN, email, calendar, video conferencing, encrypted chat, internet phone, a search engine. We just added a new one, an anonymous mail forwarding service, and a file sharing service. You get all of these services for $100 a year, and you get your first month free when you take advantage of our Black Friday sale running out soon. Now let's get into our digital ID report. Remember, you can download this digital ID report. I busted my ass on this report for 2 months. It's about 35 pages, and it's now done, and it's now released, so you can start getting it immediately here. Put in your email. You'll get this. You'll get the report in your email. It might take about 20-30 minutes to get in your email, but it does come. It's a big report. It takes time. We also have other webinars down here.
So we were talking about Europe and the UK in today's segment of the Digital ID report. So what is it? What governs digital ID in Europe? Well, there is this regulation called EIDAS 2.0, not just the first one, it's the second one, which is a binding EU regulation that creates an interoperable digital ID system. So if you're an EU member state in the Schengen zone, you must follow these. You don't really have a choice. That's what a binding regulation is. And each country must have their own national ID app released by the end of 2026. But the open source foundation, because they've learned the buzzwords of open source, and they're like, all right, well, we have an open source EU digital identity wallet that they've released on GitHub, and many developers are very pissed off because it requires the use of Google or Apple attestation, which means you need to have a certified Google or Apple device, which means you have to be spied on inherently to use this EU digital ID wallet. So these apps will be available by the end of 2026, and they will follow this framework. And they will allow, they're using this framework called, the specification called the World Wide Web Consortium's Verifiable Credential Specification, which is a way to have a set of claims, a set of information attached to a digital subject and say, hey, this was verified for me. And there's actually shared language. So the person accepting the digital ID can be like, are they over 21? Did they go to this college? And VC is designed to, there can be a query language of it, so you don't give all of your information away. That's the, what do they call it? The information minimization. So you don't have to share all of your information. Of course, these features don't necessarily start out that way. And so this is what they're working towards. And although the wallet is voluntary for citizens, businesses are required to accept it by 2027, which is the timeline, my friends. When businesses start to accept it, it becomes an option. More people start to use it. It becomes more popular. They start to let go of the old ways to verify people. So that's something that is definitely scary. So some examples in the EU, Norway, there are already private identity providers in the banking system, and the government's already using this as a way to accept the digital ID. Austria, we already have 50% of the government-run physical ID cards are migrating to digital wallets. In Switzerland, even though they're not part of the EU, they passed a referendum to make an EU digital ID compatible wallet with 50.4% of approval, so they really squeaked it through. EU is also home to some countries that have complete digital ID programs, as I call in the report, which is used by everyone in the country. An example is Estonia, which has a mandatory electronic ID since 2002, which stores your fingerprints inside of it, and it gives you access to many different services, so you can pay your taxes, and so you can get social welfare, or your social welfare through this service. And this card is effectively mandatory, and if you don't have it, you don't really have any rights without it. You can't get a job,
you can't go to work, you can't get married, all these things. Digital ID is required for all those things. In Denmark, mit ID, or my ID in Danish, is already reporting 97% adoption, but I don't know if I believe that people are actively using it that much. And everyone 15 and older in the country receives a digital mailbox, so the government can send them direct mail. It's also used as the identification methods for banks and insurance companies and energy companies, job applications. It's used to schedule doctor's appointments, and it's presented in person to verify age. But look at this. The app is really crummy. It has a 1.6 star rating on the Google Play Store, which people say the app is basically useless and crashes all the time while trying to authenticate with other apps, and doesn't work unless you're using Google Chrome's browser. In 2013, the previous version of this digital ID took down the country's banking system after a 2013 DDoS attack. Welcome to digital Denmark, where you can be shit out of luck if cyber criminals attack your digital ID system. Really, really sad. In the UK, you have BritCard, which the Prime Minister has said but kind of walked back on, but still is also implying that it's going to be required to work in the country by 2029. Guys, the timeline here. He kind of said the quiet part out loud and has alluded to the restrictions that are coming in the future. This is why it's so important to prepare now and build those local community connections. And the one login single sign-on service is already live for government sites. Eventually this will be offered to third-party platforms, banks, social medias, so you can log in with your official government ID. So this is supposed to stop illegal immigration, but I don't think an app on your phone does anything to prevent people from getting on boats and coming into the country. So that's a bit of an overview of what's going on in Europe. Again, they have one of the largest interoperable bodies of digital ID. I want to emphasize that once you're in digital ID, because there are two main protocols or specifications, ISO 180.13.5, which is the mobile driving license, and the World Wide Web W3C Consortium's verified credentials. These are designed to be interoperable. So when you get a digital ID in your country, it's not about the relationship you have with your government. It will follow you everywhere on earth as these systems develop and become more interoperable. And that's what the World Bank's pilots have shown too in South America and in Africa as they try to make these systems interoperable. So there is no escape. I've also covered how 90% of countries on Earth are doing these programs. And my friends, I think this is the greatest gift to humanity. You might say, Hakeem, but this is evil. You know, this is a control grid that could turn you into a slave. Yes, it is, but it also gives us no choice but to create better systems now. We are, and I've been sharing this metaphor, but we are the conquistadors in Hernan Cortez's force, which he landed on the shores of what is now Mexico and unknown new world, and basically he was like, okay, we're gonna conquer the Aztecs, and you know what, we're gonna burn the boats behind us. So there is no other option, my friends. You see these timelines for legislation, you see what life is like if you read the digital ID report in China and Russia, Estonia, in different places where you can literally do nothing with a digital ID. So it is coming, it's coming fast, 2 to 3 years time, and now is the time to go out in person and build the community and make a promise with your friends to spread the word and say, hey, no matter what happens, whatever you produce, I'll make sure everything I produce, I will never impose a digital ID on you. And you get that same type of promise from your friend or your community member, and that is the most valuable connection or piece of data, better than any contact tracing or secret database. That is so valuable, is that in-person connection. So now you are equipped with a bit of the knowledge. Again, read the digital ID report. Let me know how I can better put it out there or make it simplify it. And yes, go out and multiply the awareness of this digital ID system and what is coming, because we have just as much of a say as what happens on this planet as the next person. Don't give away your authority to these digital ID systems and these governments. Stay in your own authority, and these systems are so close to falling apart. That is it for TBOT 17 today. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm really glad to be back. I missed doing this. I felt like today was a satisfying show. As always, follow us on Substack, tbot.substack.com, and all of our channels, Telegram, Twitter, and until next time, I will see you. Remember, my friends, our connection is sacred. Peace.
How you been, brother Ben? We see you living Brightside again.